Good morning to you, Mama View Sabwaji.
Kaboom,
Kaboom.
But that was massive.
Yeah, that was good. It shows that, Charlie, there was a lot of enjoyment over the weekend in Kumasi.
And Katanga had to be the last in the jam.
They always will be, right? Well, we have some stories, but we know that the president has been dominating the news over the last 24 hours.
Yes, he has. And you want us to play back exactly what he said in that interview
I
with
love
Al
controversy
Jazeera?
sometimes.
Okay, Fred, let's begin with our review with what's trending, really. The president granting an interview and saying a few things in an area that we hardly talk about in the open. Here we go. Okay, now what do you think? Because there are various interpretations to what President Akufo-Addo said. What do you think? I don't have my little tab here this morning, Roland, so probably we'll just open the phone lines alongside, but we have a conversation on this with Sheikh Aremeyao, who is a Muslim cleric. We'll take the views of some other persons on the issue. Most importantly, yours.
But we know that the Christian Council of Ghana, Reverend Opudi has been sending those messages of notes. I'm sure he sent it to you too.
Yes. He's on PM Express later this evening.
Right.
So yeah,
so we'll
share his views as well alongside.
Right.
This issue has resurrected. Can we deal with it properly? Because we always just touch and go.
Yes, we do.
We don't deal with it thoroughly. Is the president just saying something that is real? And I think the other issue is the fact that former late President Atta Mills took a position.
Yeah,
he took a position. I mean, he was emphatic. But
and then former President JDM, that's John Dramani Mahama, also said that the socio-cultural as well as our religious groups and the people really don't accept it. So there's no way it could be possible. And I think that if you look at the responses from Atta Mills, JDM, and then Nanago, it's been diluted over, and I'm sure the next president of Ghana will also dilute it further, because I don't know. Maybe by the time you and I are old enough, you'll find that the public opinion may be changing somewhat.
Well, some people have said that at least the president has given those who are calling for it I mean, he's shown the way. This is what you have to do to get us to accept it.
Some hope that you just have to make sure there's enough opinion and public agitation.
Exactly. But let's look at the newspapers. We'll come back to the subjects. Let's look at the newspapers. We'll start off with the Daily Graphic newspaper. What's the graphic reporting on this day? Free SHS here to stay, President Akufo-Addo is assuring. So President Akufo-Addo cutting the tape to inaugurate a facility at Prempeh College in Kumasi, and that's where he also made the statement. Release Assembly member for Asokwa Newtown, Ashanti Regional Police directs the KMA. 2 lawyers suspended by General Legal Counsel, and Stabo puts operations on hold following tarmac accidents. Also one of the trending stories from over the weekend. But let's begin with the story about the Asokwa Newtown Assembly member. Story says the Ashanti Regional Police Command has officially written to the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly to release the assembly member for the Asokwa Newtown electoral area, Mr. Oscar Riches, aka him to report himself to the police, he added. Meanwhile, staff of the KMA have threatened to hit the streets and protest against alleged abuse by the assembly members. They had hung red bands on some parts of the assembly buildings to show their seriousness about the issue and the need for the assembly members to respect them. So details of that story and the person who, assaulted the deputy coordinating director Oscar Riches, his picture is in the paper, so you can grab it. That story on page 26. That's also where we have Kaba's 1 week observed. That story is also in the Daily Graphic on page 26. Hundreds of people turned up for the commemoration of 1 week of the death of broadcaster Kwadwo Asare Champong, aka Kaba, last Saturday. And details of that, the graphic is reporting. But we thank the many hundreds who were here with us last Saturday. And we like very much the fact that we're beginning to celebrate the man, look at the works and the things that he did, and we're celebrating him. He brought, Roland, everybody together. I mean, the biggest and the highest in our society, everybody came through on Saturday, and indeed throughout last week. And I don't know, when I die someday, I would love to see everybody come together from the different, divide. But that was the person that he represented.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And it also speaks volumes that when you live and you work, you have to work because you love to do the work. Yeah. And because of the passion you're attached to it.
Yeah, exactly.
May he so rest in peace.
May he so rest in peace. Now we have the final funeral rites, the dates for that. That's the 15th, 16th, 17th of December. And we know that you will be supportive when we do this. But our prayer still with Valentina, his wife, who is holding on. So when you pray, please remember her in your prayers. Let's go to page 16. Let's talk about these two lawyers, Charlie. It's a big deal, like trying to become a lawyer. It's hard. And then when you get suspended, it's the biggest blow, I guess. Two lawyers have been suspended for 2 years by the General Legal Counsel for representing a company in a legal matter without seeking the consent of the company. The suspension of Mr. Charles Owusu, Juana, and Mr. Kwame Amwako, the Ghana Legal Council said, took effect from November 24, 2017, according to a notice signed by the Judicial Secretary, Justice Alex Pokwe Champong, and posted on the GLC website. The two filed a notice of change of solicitors and issued a writ on behalf of Kasapa Limited without due consent and instructions from the said Kasapa Limited. Amazing. So details of that suspension also in the Daily Graphic newspaper. And let's talk about Starbowl. Let's talk about Starbowl. Domestic airline operator Starbowl has suspended its operations until further notice. The suspension follows Saturday's accident at the Kotoka International Airport involving one of its aircraft, which skidded off the tarmac. The aircraft and the number of the aircraft is here, and the registration number as well was bound for Kumasi, but the flight was subsequently cancelled following the incident. 60 passengers and 5 crew members who were on board the aircraft at the time of the incident successfully disembarked. And we heard, and we don't know if they are still in the clinic, but 5 persons. And that's also another conflicting report, because you know the Ghana Airport Company itself issued a statement and said 1 person. And then Starbowl, the airline involved, said 5 persons. They were monitoring them. And some people, following that, some people said they were, in fact, all of them were traumatized, but some said they had been just left alone. You know, people didn't know what to do.
There was a video circulating on social media. One of the passengers was not happy about perhaps the response from Starbowl, the management of the company. And I think that also speaks volumes about consumer rights and how we attach some emergency and response to such cases.
But this is not the first time that Starbowl is involved in something like this.
No, not the first
I remember there was a Tamale incident. Yes. It crashed, the plane crash landed actually. Okay, well, not as in crash. But that's the term they use, except that nobody was injured.
There was even another report, I don't know whether confirmed or not, that said the pilot did not heed to instructions because the weather was not good enough.
Whatever it is. So now, and then I think there was another one in Takrady. There was another incident still involving the same airline. We'll see how this will end.
But I think that we're grateful to God that nothing tragic beyond the...
Just before you come in with the Daily Guide, quickly, we want to look at what's on the back page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Okada riders doing brisk business at closed Yape Buipe bridges. There was a story in the news about, you know, vehicles stranded.
Where are they carrying them to?
They will carry, yeah, exactly. How are they even transporting them? It's interesting, but 1 month's what is another month's meat, something like that. All right, that's it for the Daily Graphic newspaper. There are other stories of interest, by the way.
So let's look at the Daily Guide. It has on the front page, blows over free SHS. It has come to stay. Nana, reverse it, Mahama. And we know the story is on, this has been ongoing. I don't know whether Mahama exactly said that he was going to reverse it if he was re-elected into power. But the story is captured as saying that former President John Dramani Mahama has taken a swipe at President Adodankwe Akufo-Addo for rushing to implement the free senior high school policy, hinting of a possible reversal of the program by a future NDC Congress government, NDC government, since it is not mandatory. And the story is supposed to be continuing on page 4, and it says, it's quoted as saying, why should the government introduce free education now when the Constitution says it should be done progressively? In fact, it is not by force to introduce free SHS now. Okay. And then, well, so they never quote him saying that the party is going to scrap it, but I guess perhaps they are making some, they're making some idea. Some deductions or interpretations of his comments, and they make that. And according to him,
has said that we need a legal backing,
so that no government comes to,
so that it becomes
binding.
Exactly, something of the state.
I think I agree.
Otherwise,
I agree.
Anybody can.
I agree. We don't want any government to come next and say, well, we've implemented this for 10 years and our resources can't support it. And as a result of that, we're going to put it on hold for some time.
Yeah. It's not as if you get legal backing,
I've already started making
it,
my calculations already on
it. That what your children will go through free SHS.
The first is 10, the other is 8, so 5 years time. Go to Infante Prime, we'll be fine.
I wish you well.
So, oh, it will be fine.
I wish
Don't worry.
You well.
There's nothing to be pessimistic. It is good. Free SHS. Well, so we have other stories there. So the story continues on the page 4 of the Daily Guide. That's the subject of a free SHS and what the comments are from former president and former flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, who, meanwhile, though, has been leading a number of tours. The last time was in Takwa on the Unity tour of the NDC, or Unity Walk of the NDC. We have 68 escape plane crash at Kotoka, and homosexuals not on agenda. President Akufo-Addo. This is quite interesting. We know what the president said, and thereafter...
No, but he did also, to be fair to the paper, he did also say that it is not on the agenda.
For me, if you ask me, I think under the circumstances, the president has no choice than to be diplomatic about the way and then be real. This was a
diplomatic
response,
you say?
I think so. I think so. Of course, the verdict is still out there.
So is it a diplomatic response, or it's the real response?
I think it's a diplomatic response. For example, he says that I've lived in England, and so you will not be unassociated with the culture. Okay, but you are now the president of Ghana.
Is that how you're analyzing this?
So he's not unassociated. He's familiar with the culture out there in the West. Now he's here, but he's saying that, look, we don't have the voice or the mass of the voices that will compel any government at all to take any decision. But personally, I've lived in England. If there is the mass of the voices, just like, and he drew a juxtapose on when he was in England.
But it's interesting. You see, that's why
I don't think there was anything wrong with his answer.
They say 2 hurts are better than 1. Because my interpretation of the link with England is totally different from how you interpreted it.
He was actually relating it to...
I was thinking, this was what I was thinking, that I have lived in England. I know that in England, this was forbidding before.
Yes.
It had to go to the extent that people were even in prison and people were killed.
Yes.
So
I think you and I are talking the same thing.
England has come far. They went through processes. We are not there yet.
Yes.
The need has not come for us.
It's exactly the same thing.
Oh,
I'm trying
okay.
to conclude.
All right.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just understanding.
So, but if
differently.
the time he lived in England was way back in the 60s and all that. So then the question is, do we have to wait 40 years, 45 years until that, if there's a scenario?
Yeah.
So those are the interpretation we have to give. But the thing is that the exigencies of the geopolitical world has made it more compelling for presidents. Yeah, for presidents in developing countries.
There are other leaders. There's Uganda. You can name other few places where the leaders have emphatically said that we're not.
Yeah. But that is the leader, the current leader of Uganda. Yeah. You don't never know what the next leader of Uganda would say.
All right. So.
Because you have relationship with countries, they have impact on your economy, etc.
That's the thing. Yeah. That's when Mills said that, don't think that you're giving me something so that I would.
Well, you can't.
I'll start making laws that are not beneficial.
How long
to
can you
people.
resist?
Well, but I think the question.
For example, Nigeria can call the bluff of any country, because even if, for whatever reason at all, apart from South Africa, they are the biggest economy in Africa. If they do everything right, their resources that they have in their country should be enough and even go beyond the boundaries of that economy to serve people. So they can call the bluff. That is why a musician in Nigeria is not the same musician if he is in Ghana. We don't have the market, we don't have the population, and so we're different. Wow. We're just a small tiny country.
So that's your point of view.
Yeah.
I don't know if I do have one, but I certainly want to hear from you. So when we get to that conversation, of course, we'll let you in. Let's do the Finder newspaper. And on the front page of the Finder, government bans calendars, diaries to cut back on administrative overhead of all public institutions. Hooray! Who need?
Oh, let me say that again.
Yeah, that's it. That's it right there. So there won't be any 2018 calendars if you've been getting government contract to provide.
What about the presidency? The president has got some nice embossed or coat of crested.
Okay, let me just read
diaries.
Let me just
and
read
when
you have on page 2 in the Finder. Story filed by Elvis Dako says, beginning 2018, government has banned the production of diaries and calendars by public institutions. Quote, the production of diaries and calendars by public institutions will be discontinued in 2018. Oh, this is 2017. It means that we would have 2018 diaries, Roland. It's 2018 that we're discontinuing. Okay. Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta announced in the 2018 budget statement, and according to the minister, the decision forms part of measures to cut back on the administrative overhead of all public institutions, including state-owned enterprises.
But you know,
listen, if we were even being truthful and transparent and accountable, this thing, diaries and calendars, they wouldn't even cost a lot of money. Yeah. But it's just that people want to cheat the system.
So it's become a huge, you look at the line item from the last year, you know, definitely it's got to go up because of cost of production.
Sometimes they print a lot more than they need, so you'd realize that in the middle of the year, say in June, July, then they start giving out free to people who don't like. Really, you're giving me a diary in July. What am I going to use it for?
Because they need to clear that backlog.
I experienced that.
Yeah.
I won't tell you which year, but it came from the presidency. Right. And it was just being given out like that.
But at the end of the day, also, we know if this is able to be implemented, we'll follow up on the subject of or that policy or the directive on giving out hampers during
that's been stopped, actually.
Yes, I'm saying. I'm saying this will be a good one following that one too, because it became a practice.
Yeah.
And it has become a practice. I don't know whether this administration will continue that.
To buy hampers.
Not to buy hampers.
Or if they decide to, we're here, Abby.
Because I used to have some great some great hampers from some state enterprises.
Nation.
Yeah, no.
Well, there are still independent institutions.
No.
Who can decide?
The state enterprises. I'm not even talking about ministries.
Let's finish the rest of the headlines.
Since that time you'll stand this stuff.
Free SHS is here to stay. President Akufo-Addo. Mahama calls for dialogue on free SHS. So there's a lot of free SHS conversations. Lawyer Kwame Amwako suspended for 2 years. 16.3 billion Ghana cedis added to public debt in 9 months. That's according
Who
to
is lawyer Kwame
the
Amako?
Bank of
The
Ghana.
Kumasi-based
So
lawyer.
that's one of the two who have been suspended.
Okay.
You know, but the thing is that if you go to the websites of the GLC, the Ghana Legal Council, you'd find that day in and day out, regularly, they're suspending someone or they're not punishing, but what's the other term? Because
Fine.
there's a very active disciplinary committee that that disciplines. So, and they update it on the website. Except that when you are not so popular, we will probably not know. So there are other people who have been suspended.
So it means that even though there are two, lawyer Kwame Amwako,
apparently
between the two,
see, maybe that's
the most popular.
That's why his
or
name
is the
is
more
here.
popular of them.
Yeah.
Right.
So, all right. So you can find all these stories and more in the Finder newspaper. Roland.
Right. So let's look at the Daily Dispatch newspaper. Mwavi. He has on the front page, it's better to have students learn under trees than sell dog chains. I agree. You grew up in a community.
That's the thing. Say it again. It's better to what?
It's better to have students learn under trees than sell dog chains. I agree. And
it's better to have.
It's better to have students learn under trees
than to sell dog chains.
And you know, this criticism is coming on the back of, or this statement is coming on the back of the criticism, especially from the other side of the political divide.
But this is attributed to who?
A deputy minister of education. And the controversy is about whether the facilities have been provided, will be provided enough for free SHS and even down the scale. At the end of the day, it's better to have, for example, people always say that the nurses don't have work. And I say it's better to have a trained nurse than not have a nurse at all, who will be home selling something or perhaps doesn't have any education. It's better to be a trader who has a university degree than a trader who doesn't. Did you get my point?
You know, I'm just quite reflecting on this because I don't quite agree.
Okay.
I don't quite agree.
I agree.
What's
the
point? What's the point in going to school and not becoming anything? You get what I mean?
No, I think the point of the deputy minister is that it's better we have people in getting some form of education.
Did you see those school kids who anytime the clouds form and it feels like it's about raining, they have to run home?
I know about all the controversies.
I just feel that sometimes, if public officials, there are certain things that you can say in your bedroom and in the center of your compound house and discuss. There are things that we talk about. But if it has to be a public statement, it's better that you don't say it at all.
No.
Because I don't know. What's the point?
We're not talking about how politically correct this statement is. You're not talking about how politically...
At least if you're selling, you have a certain capital to continue to build on. But if you're learning in an environment where nothing is being impacted to you, what are you gaining in the end?
No.
So the arguments can go
on different sides.
I don't buy that.
If you ask me as a marketing communication person, would I advise a politician to say this in public? No. But I'm saying that we're talking about an intent of a policy. Now the policy is intended to give people tuition free.
I get it.
And we have not been ready to provide everybody infrastructure.
It doesn't work for me. See, that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point. It will make me punch holes into it.
Yeah. We have not been ready.
So what were you thinking? What were you thinking? If you're not ready, then why did you start it?
Yes.
We are somewhere. We've begun this already.
But it's better.
Let's deal with the challenges, but don't give me this.
Yes, I understand.
That's just what I'm saying.
Politically, this is not a correct statement.
So then let's go on. Because we're talking about the political correctness of it. We're not talking about the policy itself.
Yeah. I think this one is more about the policy.
It's a great policy, but if you begin to give me this, then I would take you back to why did you begin.
I think on the face value and also the intent of it, this one, as far as its impact on the policy is concerned, it's better to have somebody who is getting some form of education than nothing at all.
Listen, when you sit under that terrible condition, like there is a school in Nungwa, is it Teshinungwa or in Nungwa? Let me just link the two, Teshinungwa. What's the name of that secondary school again that doesn't have a toilet facility? What's the point?
Is it Nungwa?
What's the point? So a judge says,
Fred Portofeu went
close
to
it down. That's it, because what's the point? What's the point, Roland? What's the point? Why would the judge say close it down? And you're saying that, oh, it's good. Let's just have the facility.
If it doesn't come before the judge.
Let's have the
if it doesn't come
facilities.
before the judge. If it doesn't come before the judge.
And you ask, and I think that every public official should begin to ask themselves when there are challenges, would I take my child to that place?
Yeah.
You know?
I agree
Charlie,
with
let's move on from the Daily Dispatch.
Well, so I think that'll be it. We also have the business and financial. As the last paper we're going to run through, then we'll go to myjoyonline.com. The main story that says petroleum taxes must come down, and that's coming from the Institute for Statistical, Social and Economic Research, based in the University of Ghana. You know, fuel prices have gone up again. Oh, they keep going up. Oh. Last time when I was filling my tank, almost 300. Yeah. I said, how? It means that those who have bigger tanks than me will go above 300. You know, when I packed, I said, must I top up? The guy go, I said, madam. You want me to go? Don't worry, go. And you know, those of you who use petrol is serious. Because that one just... And even from Accra. Anyway, so let's look at myjoyonline.com quickly, and then we have to take a leave because Force is ready. And myjoyonline.com has the main story. Okay, political, okay. myjoyonline.com. So, Mama, we have myjoyonline.com. So, Asgardia, the world's first space nation, takes flights. Seriously? Space nation has taken flights. What does that mean? Is this details of this Avengers or something? Seriously? World War II soldiers' battlefield Bible finds its way home to family after 73 years. A Bible belonging to an American soldier serving in World War II has found its way back home after more than 70 years. Very interesting story that you might want to read. Man shoots woman after mistaking her for a deer. Oh, God. A Western New York woman was killed as she was walking her dogs Wednesday evening after a neighbor thought she was a deer. Oh. They have deers in New York? Oh. I thought they're supposed to be in the zoo somewhere. Oh. So if you see your neighbor in New York, well, New York is very cosmopolitan. They probably also have to check. It depends on where exactly. But they also probably have to check and see. On this issue that we've been talking about on homosexuality, no amount of pressure will change our stance. We'll call him this Christian morning. Council tells we'll call him. All right, we will talk about that subject later on. 2 feared dead as rocks crash BMW occupants. At least 2 people are feared dead in a bizarre accident at Tema Sunday evening. What happened, I saw one of these. I don't know whether the same car with the same chains. Yeah. On the road. You know, this is just within my area. This was a vehicle carrying the rocks. Yeah. So these tipper trucks, and they use these chains. I was just behind this car, and I even said I had an occupant in the car, and I said, these things could be dangerous. And then in the evening, I saw the story. I'm telling you, before God and man. But why would they be allowed to carry rocks? They carry the rocks from the Shire Hills area. I think they're sending it to the ports. You know, they are doing this port expansion. Shouldn't it be a full track, that has been covered? Exactly. The thing is that the truck, I think they've removed the, I don't know whether it's a gate or a door behind there, because otherwise you can't carry, when you're lifting it up into it. Yeah, I think that's what happened. You know, when I saw the story, on Facebook. I was like, okay, maybe it was an accident, like 2 vehicles crashing or something like that. I was just trying to imagine. I didn't know it was this. Really, really sad. Now, until authorities do something about this, if you find a vehicle, a truck with rocks, please drive behind it. Not only drive behind it. Yeah, and make sure there's a lot of space. 50 meters or more. And as soon as you find that you can quickly overtake, just do it quickly. Otherwise, if you're beside them, it's terrible. 100. 50 meters. All right, so these are the stories that time will permit us to look at myjoyonline.com, but it's our page. You can always go there. Do we have time to do BBC? No, maybe not. We'll bring you sports up next. There was a lot of action over the weekend. Details of that in sports. Roland Walker.